In this video, we're exposing 11 subtle habits that quietly push people away, things you do without realizing, that sabotage your respect, your influence, and your relationships. Once you see them, you'll never unsee them. And when you fix them, people start treating you differently, immediately. Stay until the end, because the final habit is the one even the smartest people miss. Let's get into it. 1. You overshare too quickly. Being open isn't the problem. Being too open too soon is. When you meet someone and immediately unload your whole life story, your trauma, your regrets, your insecurities, it doesn't build trust. It creates discomfort. It doesn't say, "I'm authentic." It says, "I need validation." And most people can feel the difference. Oversharing too quickly doesn't deepen the connection. It suffocates it. Real connection takes time. It's built through trust, not emotional dumping. When someone barely knows you and you hit them with everything at once, it can feel less like intimacy and more like a red flag. People want to feel safe around you, not responsible for carrying your emotional baggage. There's power in pacing. There's confidence in restraint. Mystery builds interest. It shows that you value your experiences enough not to hand them out to just anyone. It signals self-respect. But desperation, that kills curiosity. So the next time you feel the urge to overshare, pause. Ask yourself, am I trying to connect or am I trying to be rescued? 2. You try too hard to be liked. You laugh at every joke, even the ones that aren't funny. You nod in agreement, even when your gut says otherwise. You become whatever the room needs you to be, thinking that if you're nice enough, agreeable enough, easygoing enough, people will like you. But here's the truth: when you try too hard to be liked, you stop being seen. You become a mirror, reflecting everyone else's opinions, moods, and personalities. And people don't respect mirrors. They look through them, they forget them. Trying to please everyone is exhausting. Worse, it quietly erodes your identity. You trade your voice for approval, your values for acceptance. But real respect doesn't come from blending in. It comes from standing firm. True confidence means being okay with not being everyone's favorite. It means knowing who you are and not bending just to avoid friction. Ironically, the moment you stop chasing approval is when people start giving it to you. Because authenticity has gravity, it draws people in. So if you want to be respected, stop performing and start showing up as yourself. Not everyone will like it, and that's exactly the point. 3. You interrupt too much. You might not mean to be rude. Maybe you're just excited, eager to jump in, to relate, to contribute. But every time you interrupt someone, even with good intentions, you send a subtle, damaging message. What I have to say matters more than what you're saying. And over time, people feel it. They feel dismissed, talked over, disrespected. Even if they smile and keep the conversation going, a quiet resentment builds underneath. Interrupting isn't just about cutting someone off. It's about cutting off their experience. It tells them their voice isn't fully welcome in the space you share. And for many people, that's enough to start pulling away. You may not notice it at first, but the eye contact fades. The replies get shorter. The energy shifts. Not because you're a bad person, but because people don't feel heard around you. True presence means listening fully. Not just waiting for your turn to speak, but actually hearing the other person out. Let them finish. Give space. You'll be surprised how much more respect you earn when people feel safe to express themselves without being rushed or overrun. 4. You constantly one-up others. Someone shares a win. They got a promotion, hit a new personal best, or just had a great weekend. And instead of celebrating with them, you feel the itch to mention something better, something bigger. Oh, that's cool. I actually closed an even bigger deal last week. You might think you're bonding, but what you're really doing is shifting the spotlight. You're not connecting, you're competing. And here's the problem. Nobody likes feeling outshined every time they speak. When people notice that your instinct is always to top their story, their success, or their struggle, they stop opening up. They stop sharing. Because it stops feeling safe, it starts feeling like a silent contest. And silently, they begin to root against you. Not because you're doing well, but because you make everything about winning. And deep down, people don't want to see you win when you never let them feel seen. There's power in letting someone else have their moment, in saying, "That's amazing," and meaning it without needing to shift the focus back to you. True confidence doesn't need to compete. It celebrates others freely. And when you do that, something shifts. People feel supported around you. And that kind of presence earns deep, lasting respect. 5. You gossip. Gossip might feel harmless in the moment. A shared secret, a little laugh, a juicy detail passed over coffee. It can even feel like bonding. But here's the truth. If you talk about others behind their back, the people listening assume you'll do the same to them. You don't become more likable, you become more dangerous. Because now, you're not someone they can trust. You're someone they need to be careful around. Gossip might give you attention, but it steals your credibility. Word spreads. Not just the things you say, but the kind of person you are. And even if no one calls you out directly, they'll remember. They'll remember how quick you were to tear someone down, how comfortable you were sharing what wasn't yours to share. And when trust is lost in whispers, it's rarely recovered in conversation. If you want respect, real, deep respect, be the kind of person who protects other people's names, even when they're not in the room. Let others gossip if they want. You stay silent. Or better yet, shift the subject, because loyalty in private is what earns admiration in public. 6. You never apologize. You mess up. We all do. But instead of owning it, you explain, you deflect, you justify. You say things like, "That wasn't my intention," or "Technically, I didn't do anything wrong," and maybe that makes you feel smarter in the moment. But to everyone else, it makes you look small, because no one trusts someone who always has to be technically right. People don't remember your clever defenses, they remember how you made them feel. Refusing to apologize doesn't signal strength, it signals ego. It tells people you care more about being seen as perfect than being real. And over time, that chips away at your relationships. The trust weakens, the respect fades. People stop being honest with you because they know you won't own your part. True strength is simple. It sounds like this: "I messed up. I'm sorry." No excuses, no conditions, just ownership. And ironically, the moment you drop your guard and take responsibility, that's when people actually start to respect you. Because humility isn't weakness, it's proof you're strong enough to grow. 7. You play the victim. Life isn't fair. Bad things happen. People hurt you, opportunities slip away, and it's okay to feel that pain. But if every story you tell ends with "poor me," people eventually stop listening. Because when your identity becomes tied to suffering, when every conversation centers around how you've been wronged, you stop being relatable. You start being exhausting. At first, people may feel sympathy, they may offer support. But over time, the pattern wears thin. Because real connection is a two-way street. And when you're always the victim, there's no room for anyone else's perspective. Worse, the constant blame shifts responsibility. You never grow because you're always pointing fingers. You never heal because you never own your power. And here's the dark truth. The longer you play the victim, the more likely you are to become the villain in someone else's story. Not because you meant to hurt anyone, but because people grow tired of the weight, of always being expected to carry your pain while you take no steps to change. Victimhood might bring you attention, but it will never bring you respect. What earns respect is resilience, accountability, the willingness to say, "This hurt me, yes, but it doesn't define me." That's when people stop pitying you and start admiring you. 8. You dominate every conversation. You might think you're being engaging, telling stories, sharing experiences, filling in the silence. But if every conversation revolves around you, it's not a conversation, it's a monologue. And people notice. If they walk away knowing everything about your childhood, your weekend, your opinions, but you don't even know what they do for a living, that silence speaks volumes. It says, this wasn't about us, it was about you. Dominating a conversation isn't about volume, it's about space. Do you make room for others? Do you ask questions and actually listen to the answers? Or are you just waiting for your turn to speak again? Because real connection requires presence, not performance. It's not about being quiet, it's about making others feel heard. The truth is, people won't always remember what you said, but they will always remember how they felt around you. And if they felt invisible, dismissed, or unimportant, they won't come back. Not because you weren't interesting, but because you made the moment all about you. So the next time you're in a conversation, pause, ask, listen, let someone else shine for once. That's how you go from being tolerated to being trusted. 9. You make everything a joke. Humor is powerful. It lightens heavy moments, breaks tension, and brings people together. But when you turn everything into a joke, when every serious topic gets brushed off with sarcasm or deflection, it stops being connection. It becomes avoidance. People laugh, sure, but beneath the laughter, they feel a distance, like they can't quite reach you, like there's always a mask in the way. The constant joking sends a message, whether you mean to or not. I'm not safe showing vulnerability, so I won't let you show yours either. And over time, people stop trying. They stop opening up around you because they don't want their feelings turned into punchlines. What started as lightheartedness begins to feel like emotional shutdown. Humor can be a shield, but when it becomes a wall, you're not protecting yourself, you're isolating yourself. And eventually, that wall doesn't just keep pain out, it keeps intimacy out too. People don't trust what they can't touch. They don't open up to someone who never lets the moment get real. Strength isn't hiding behind a laugh. Real strength is being able to sit in discomfort, to be serious when it matters, to say, I don't have to be funny right now, I can just be here. That's what makes people feel safe. That's what earns respect. 10. You take but rarely give. Every relationship, whether it's friendship, family, or something more, runs on an unspoken balance, a flow of attention, effort, energy. And when that flow only goes in one direction, when you're always the one asking, venting, needing, but rarely giving back, people notice. They may not call it out. They may keep showing up. But inside, something starts to shift. They feel used, even if you didn't mean to use them. You might not see it that way. You might think, they're always there for me. But ask yourself, when was the last time you asked how they were doing? When was the last time you showed up just to listen, support, or offer something with no expectation in return? Relationships aren't transactions, but they do need reciprocity. Not in a strict tit-for-tat way, but in the simple human sense of mutual care. When you take without giving, you're sending a message. My needs matter more than yours. And over time, that message wears people down. It drains them. Until one day they just stop answering your calls, not out of malice, but out of quiet exhaustion. If you want lasting connection, be someone who fills others, not just someone who draws from them. Give your time, your attention, your presence, because respect grows where people feel seen, not drained. 11. You refuse to grow. People are drawn to growth, to evolution, to the quiet power of someone who's working on themselves, not perfectly, but consistently. But when you refuse to grow, when you stay stuck in the same mindset, repeat the same drama, blame the same people for the same problems, you become emotionally heavy, predictable, and eventually people start to drift away. Not because they're better than you, but because you've chosen to stand still while they're trying to move forward. Refusing to grow doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it shows up as stubbornness, as pride, as the quiet belief that you don't need to change, everyone else does. But here's the truth. When you stop evolving, your relationships suffer. Your mindset becomes stagnant. Your conversations repeat. Your world shrinks. People want to walk beside those who are becoming, not just complaining. They want partners, not anchors. And if you're unwilling to confront your patterns, own your mistakes, or step outside your comfort zone, they will eventually leave. Maybe physically, maybe just emotionally, but they'll stop investing in someone who isn't investing in themselves. Growth isn't about perfection, it's about direction. Even small changes, done consistently, signal that you're trying. And that effort, that humility, that's what keeps people close. That's what earns lasting respect. Most people will never hear the truth, not because no one tells them, but because their ego won't let them listen. But if you've made it this far, then you're not most people. You're willing to face the uncomfortable, to grow. Remember, the goal isn't to be liked by everyone. It's to live in a way that earns genuine respect. So cut the habits, keep the strength, subscribe so you don't miss any new updates. Thanks for watching.